Hello, and welcome to this workshop on inspiring hope in our students and ourselves. I'm so very happy that you have joined me today, and I hope sincerely that you will get something out of this today that will make you more hopeful. So, we're going to get started and tell you just a little bit about myself. I did teach for 31 years in North America, New York. I taught elementary band, and then I became very, very interested in positive psychology. And this workshop is a result of that new learning that I took it upon myself to share with fellow teachers who I felt were depressed, especially lately with everything that's going on. I did this before COVID, and after COVID, it's been really quite challenging sometimes for teachers in the classroom. So my work is to try to help out in any way I can to get us to remember why we went into teaching in the first place, the extraordinarily good fortune that we have of teaching music, and how blessed we are to be able to share this with all of these students. So, just this is an important picture of me with my Halloween band in North America, New York, one of my favorite pictures of myself. We're going to get started with a joke because even though this is about hope, I think the jokes are quite helpful because in a moment when you read a joke, you are fully present. You are not worrying about the future. You're not worrying about the past. You're not ruminating on anything. You're just trying to get the joke. So it's nice for us to use jokes in classrooms because it will just for that moment help your kids kind of just center into a new space. And as we know, some of our kids are pretty sad. Some of them have been, they're deeply traumatized at home. They were deeply traumatized by COVID, those who are a little bit older. And it can be hard. This is a nice joke. But I do want everyone to know that there totally is hope. There is hope because there's something that's really called the blue-footed booby out there in the world. And there are also Paddington Bear movies. If you ever really feel totally hopeless, actually, if that is really your case, please, I don't want to demean anyone's hopelessness because I know it's a serious, serious problem. But if you can be lightened a little bit by just some good humor, watch some Paddington Bear movies. I promise you they will lift up your spirits. We're going to start with a bit of a dark story here because the journey of hope is from the darkness to the light. And how do we get there? So here I would just like to honor two wonderful music educators who were lost in a bus crash on Long Island where I live. The Farmingdale High School band bus was traveling to Pennsylvania for their annual band camp. And unfortunately, the bus went over a divider at the side of the road and down a ravine. And we lost these two beautiful people. Gina Pelliceri was their completely beloved band director, and the band's favorite chaperone, Beatrice Ferrari, who also worked in Farmingdale. And I want to tell you about what I saw our community on Long Island too that was so incredibly inspiring and gave so many people hope. Right off the bat, there were many, many, many fundraisers that were organized on Long Island. They were organized to help the members of the band who had been traumatized, and several of them, quite a few, were deeply hurt and in critical condition. And then there was a fundraiser that the music education community, which is very close on Long Island, put together to raise money for Gina Pelliceri's 2-year-old son. Gina was a single parent, and this money went into a fund for his education. Then there were pubs that raised money for the school district and just to help the band program. One of my favorite fundraisers was all the pizza places on Long Island got together and made what they called Long Island Pizza Strong Day. And they donated $5 for every pie that was ordered to the Farmingdale to the Farmingdale Music Department to use in any way that they needed. And that fundraiser raised over $100,000. Pizza. It was awesome. that all the places did this. And why I'm telling you this story is because this was a hopeless situation. There was nothing that any human can do to make this better. We're not going to bring back these beautiful lives that were lost. But everybody felt the need on Long Island to do something. That need to be hopeful is wired within us. What can our actions do that will make the world a slightly better place in the face of great adversity? And then I want to tell you my favorite story is about this green handkerchief. So I'm teaching at Hofstra University, and a boy comes in to my woodwind methods class the Tuesday after the bus crash, and the whole music education community on Long Island, which I told you was very tight, got the message to wear green on that Tuesday to honor the victims of the bus crash and all of the families that were involved. And I had given my kids white handkerchiefs to tie on their flutes because I am a firm believer that this old-fashioned white handkerchief is just the best tool that one can have to clean out a flute. So this boy took it upon himself, like immediately, to go on Amazon and order a whole bunch of these green handkerchiefs to honor Farmingdale. And on that Tuesday, he gave them out. And he came up to me after class and he goes, Professor Rakes, would you like a green handkerchief in honor of Gina Pelletieri? And I have to say, I started to cry. The kindness of this young man and his desire to do something to make the world a better place just completely overwhelmed me with the belief that the world is an okay place, that everything is going to be all right. It's not always the way that we planned it. It's not always the way we want it, but with hope, we can make a brighter future. And that is what this young man did. And I'll be touched forever. And that green handkerchief is now on my backpack, which is goes with me everywhere I go. Fred Rogers said, if you look for the helpers, you'll know that there's hope because hope is an action verb. It takes action to really have hope, to really make hope work. Do you want to tell you a little bit about my handout for this workshop? And in the handout, you can have a link to the Google presentation slides. You can have a link to Hope workshops for teachers and for students that you can use in your classrooms. I have a collection of funny and inspiring posters for the classroom because, as you can kind of see, I'm a big fan of silly jokes and putting them out just to help kids center, have them be present right then and there. And then I have a link to some breathing and gratitude warm-ups that I have created that are yours if you like them. So that is that link right there, and you can scan that QR code to get that link. So why study hope? Why do we teachers need to inspire hope? A Gallup poll followed 10,000 workers and they asked them a question. Do you feel strongly that your leaders make you feel enthusiastic about the future? Yes or no? If the respondents said that their leaders made them feel enthusiastic about the future, 69% of those people were engaged in their job. If the respondents didn't feel that their leaders made them feel enthusiastic about the future. Only 1% were engaged. 1% versus 69%. So we do need to ask ourselves, are we inspiring hope? Are we out there every day making our kids feel more hopeful about the future? There are other studies. High hope employees are 28% more likely to be successful, 44% more likely to enjoy good health, and hope predicts academic achievement more effectively than intelligence, personality, or even prior academic achievement. So, what exactly is hope? So, we're going to have a little distinction here between hope and optimism. Optimism is our belief that our future will be better than our present. Some of us are born a little more optimistic than others. And there's not a whole lot you can do to change your basic optimism level. But you can change your hope level because your hope is your belief that the future will be better than your present, and you have the power to make it so. You have what is called agency. You are a powerful human. So, hope is an action verb. You have the power through your actions to make the world better than it is at this moment. So true hope requires active engagement rather than passive wishing. And this is a lovely Jane Goodall quote, who Jane Goodall has written extensively about hope. And she goes, no matter how dark things may seem, there's always a glimmer of hope if we keep moving forward and taking action. So hope is an action verb. The hopeful have agency, and agency is knowing that we can take control of our life and influence our circumstances rather than being a passive recipient of events. So we can make a difference. Know that your life is never going to be without obstacles and know that you are strong enough to overcome them. So we have to know that, yeah, we're going to have obstacles and yeah, we can get around them. So know that we can build our agency and that of our students with tools from positive psychology, which I am going to teach you today. And I just like this particular mantra from the self-help world that says, I am enough. I am enough because I have agency and I know that I can make a difference. So what are these tools from the positive psychology toolbox that will help us? So, the first tool that makes us more hopeful, as researched by positive psychologists, is gratitude. If we can become more grateful, if we can install a gratitude practice that ups our feelings of gratitude towards our world around us and the people around us, it's going to bolster our self-worth, our sense of agency. It's going to will bolster our self-esteem. It will enable us to cope with stress and trauma because we know that our actions will make a difference. It encourages moral behavior. It builds social bonds. And I like this one. You cannot hold a grateful thought and a negative thought at the same time. And this comes from work of Sonia Luyer-Bermirsky, who has done a lot of work on the importance of what makes us flourish. And what makes us flourish, her number one thing is to become more grateful. So there are lots of studies out here. This one just says that practicing gratitude makes you better to equipped to handle what comes your way with a hopeful spirit. And that is from research from 2018. One of the big writers about gratitude is Robert Emmons. He has a book called Thanks and Gratitude Works. And his quote is, gratitude is literally one of the few things that can measurably change people's lives. One of his pivotal studies had 10 weeks of writing in the journal each evening, 3 to 5 things that you were grateful for. And you do that for 10 weeks. And then he had a placebo group who wrote about just basically what was bothering them. And then another group that just wrote about anything they felt like it. The people that wrote the three gratitudes actually became 25% happier in 10 weeks. 25% happier is quite a bit happier. And when you are happier, you are more hopeful. When you are happier, many, many good things happen to your personality. So other studies confirm that just visualizing one thing at night, just one, you don't need to write down three, although the high road is 3 to 5 each night. You can also write down that once a week and you will have an improvement in your happiness and hopeful levels. And if you just visualize one thing before you go to bed at night, that will also increase your hopefulness. So it may sound simplistic, he says, but the evidence cannot be ignored. If you want to sleep more soundly, count blessings, not sheep. I'd like to introduce you to my dog who will be making some appearances in this workshop. This is Casey the Wonder Dog. Casey is no longer with us, but Casey was extraordinarily photogenic. So I wanted at the time to make an inspirational calendar with Casey, but since that didn't happen, I use him in my presentations. So here is Casey. I am now grateful for my present dog named Lucy. So, one thing that you can do, one little tool that you can do is take a 2 minute gratitude break with your kids or with yourself. Just a 2 minute break. And we're going to take 2 minutes right now to do this little break. And I am going to just lead you in a tiny little meditation. Classic meditators have you sit tall, bring, as the Buddha said, You sit tall with dignity and you bring that dignity out into the world. That is wonderful and great. And if you can sit tall, more power to you. But if you're doing this little 2 minute break at the end of a school day and you're absolutely exhausted and you just want to slouch on your couch, that will work. Yeah, is it the highest road? No, but it's a good road. It's a good road and it's a powerful road. So right now, you don't have to sit tall with dignity. You can sit any way you want. And really, the only caveat about all meditation practices is you have to stay awake. If you fall asleep, it's not meditation anymore, it's sleep. And it usually means that you need some sleep. So don't worry if you fall asleep. But meditation requires that you focus on something. So in this meditation, we're going to focus first on our breath, breathing in, breathing out, and then we're going to bring to mind one thing that we're grateful for, just one. It could be your dog. I could do one with my dog. It could be anything. It could be a glass of water. So pick what that one thing might be right now as we get started. And I'm just going to take you through a very short meditation. I invite you all to close your eyes. Breathe deeply into your belly and out. You can breathe out through your mouth or your nose, either one. Scrunch your face up really tight and then let all the muscles relax. And invite gravity to pull those muscles down. Raise your shoulders up to your ears. And now invite them to relax. Let gravity pull them down. Scrunch your hands up and invite them to relax. And continue breathing in and out. And if thoughts come by that are not breathing in and out, just tell yourself it's okay. Invite them to leave. Go back to your focus and just say to yourself, oh well, it's okay. I breathe in, I breathe out. Now, when you breathe in, visualize one beautiful thing that you are grateful for. And when you breathe out, invite that feeling of gratitude to go all throughout every cell of your body. Breathe in, breathe out. Share that feeling of gratitude with every cell in your body. Continue breathing in your gratitude and breathing out. Wiggle your fingers and wiggle your toes. Gently open up your eyes. Come back into the room. Bring your awareness of that wonderful thing you were grateful for into the room with you. Look at your room through that lens of gratitude for that one beautiful thing. So that was a 2 minute gratitude meditation. You can certainly do that with you. And if you feel that your kids need this, take 2 minutes. Kids like doing meditation practices. I've seen it in the classroom. I've seen it with my Hofstra kids. They like it. They need it. They know they need it. Why does gratitude increase our hope? So when you practice gratitude, you will notice that you become a little more grateful and a little happier. Right now, you might even notice just with that 2 minutes that your mind is maybe possibly a little more at ease. And you now know that you just did that. You created that positive change by what you were thinking about, by the breathing meditation. And this will strengthen your belief that you can influence what happens in your life. You have to let yourself know, hey, I just did that. Look what I just did. I did it. I made myself more calm. And remind your kids, hey, you're making yourself more calm. You have the power. So when we recognize that our actions affect our outcomes, we develop our sense of agency, that belief that we can make things happen. And as a result, we become more hopeful. And as we go through this presentation, all of these little interventions that I'm going to talk to you about have been proven to make you more hopeful, more happier, more successful. So know that you have the power within you to do those and affect a change in your life. You could create a gratitude mantra that I particularly like. If the only prayer you ever say is thank you, that will be enough. And I just love that because if we are just constantly reminding ourselves of our many blessings, even in the midst of horrific things, there will be something that we can be grateful for. I start my day with this particular mantra. This is the day the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. And yes, I picture little heads of lettuce rejoicing. And it reminds me to just start my day with that positive outlook in life. And it's not toxic positivity. I am just going to go out. I'm going to take the lens that I'm looking through and I'm going to go out and look for the good. You can practice gratitude too much, so it turns out that sometimes less is more. This was also Sonia Lyra Bermirsky's work. So, you can't overdo it. And just like everything else, there's got to be like a little happy medium. So you do need a light touch, like a butterfly, just a little light touch when you're teaching kids. You don't want to whack them over the head with it because they will run screaming from the room. This is one of the most researched breathing activities that you can do. It was done by a man named Andrew Huberman and research in Stanford, I believe. And this particular breathing exercise has you inhale for 2 counts. Then you take a sharp inhale, and in that sharp inhale, it's going to fill up all the pockets in your lungs, the alveoli pockets in your lungs. And then you exhale for 6 counts, is his classic one that we do. A longer exhale has been shown to slightly slow down our heartbeat, almost imperceptibly, but it slows it down. So when you have an extended exhalation, you are basically lowering your heartbeat ever so slightly for a longer time as you do that. So we breathe in for 2, we have a sharp in, and then we breathe out for 6. So we're going to do that together. And when you lead these kinds of counted exercises, don't go too slow with your kids because they get frustrated if they can't hold their breath long enough. All right, so I'm just going to demonstrate. I'll go in for 2, deep in, out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Are you ready? You're going to do it with me, and we're going to do it 4 times. And 1, 2, here we go. In for 2. 1, 2, deep in. 1, out, 2, 3, 4, 5. In for 2. In, deep in. Out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. In, out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. In, out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And now just return your breath to normal. And just raise your hand if you feel ever so slightly more calm. Raise your hand if you're hyperventilating. If you're hyperventilating, you need to go a little bit slower. But this has really been proven to help calm people down. And I think it's essential that we teach our kids this particular breathing exercise. I have turned them into make music exercises, and they are available for you on a make music playlist that I have shared with you in my handout. So the make music playlist looks like this. You have a 2 count measure where you breathe in, a 1 count measure where you sharply breathe in, and then 6 counts extended play. And if you use this on Make Music, the kids can click on Learn More, and it will take them to Andrew Huberman talking about this particular exercise and why it is so good for you. And I did this so that anyone can do this. We can play it on a concert F. You could sing it or you could just exhale. You could do whatever, use it however you like. I also turned this into a gratitude practice using the inspiration from the if the only prayer you ever say is thank you, that will be enough. Just on the exhale, instead of counting to 6, you're going to think in your head, thank you, thank you, thank you. And let's do that. We're going to breathe in for 2. Sharp breath in 1. And then just think in your head 3 thank yous. And here we go. Ready? Go deep in. 1, 2, sharp. Thank you. Thank you. Let's do it one more time. Deep breath in for 2. Sharp breath in. Think. Thank you. As we breathe out. 2. Thank you. So that is just a real quick way to just emphasize to the kids. You don't have to say it much to them. You don't have to beat them up over it. You just say, this is one of the most important things that you can do to make yourself happier, more successful, and to flourish in life. That's all you have to say. And it's completely true. All right. I also have a link in my handouts to you can get them as just a piece of paper to hand out to your kids. And then there's more information on the bottom and more links if you want to learn more about all of that. So I also have them on a Rakis Positive Psychology playlist, a Make Music playlist, where I have put cyclic grateful sighing. I have regular grateful sighing, a regular cyclic sighing. I have the classic 478 breath, which is one of the first breaths that caught on to reduce anxiety in the West. And it comes from the East. It's an ancient practice, but I have that there. I have a gratitude version of that just for meditation purposes. If you want to meditate to 4 minutes and 33 seconds by John Cage, you're welcome to. And then just one of the best pieces on Make Music Cloud is Count Your Blessings by Andy Beck. Oh my goodness. Just singing that to yourself is a fabulous habit that you could have. So now let's talk about what the social scientists think we should do to develop our hope. So to have hope, they say that what we need, and I totally agree, we need goals. All right, we got to hope for something. We need agency, which we've talked about. We need that ability to know that we are so capable of so much more than what we know. And we can affect a change and make a brighter future. And then we have to see the pathways ahead. We have to make a plan. So, Rick Snyder, one of the gurus of positive psychology and hope, says you have to have a future there that lines you up. You need a future. You can get there from here, is his motto. You need agency. You need to believe that you have the power to make that future a reality. You need to have your kids make goals. You need to have your kids believe that they are more powerful than they could ever imagine and that they can make a change. And then you need to know the pathways. You need to know that there's many different pathways. You might bump into all sorts of obstacles on your pathways, and we need to let them know that's okay. Pathways aren't free of obstacles. They never are. And sometimes they have so many obstacles that you can't see the light at the end of the tunnel, but you have to know that the light is there. This is his big saying, and this is in my inspirational posters. If you want that, you can get there from here. It's a beautiful thing. And I made that into a little poster with my lovely dog, which I see I am going to need to make a cleaner copy of that one right there. He's a little fuzzy. All right, now you need to identify the obstacles. We have to make a goal. What do we want? We have to know that none of our paths will be full of obstacles. And at another time, I'll tell you the story of how Casey the Wonder Dog here ran into the forest as we were walking on this lovely path and ran into a nest of 200 ticks. Not sure if that was the time right here, but he looked just like this when he came out at that time. So there is some work that has some materials for students to help them do this. And some of that is the work of Gabrielle Ottingen, and she has a book called Rethinking Positive Thinking. And part of what she has done is that just positive thinking, just visualization, without identifying obstacles and making a plan, really does not work. As a matter of fact, if you just visualize an outcome, compared to someone who's visualized an outcome and made a plan, you're going to do quite a bit worse. Not just not as good, you're going to be worse. You're going to go down. So, because you get disappointed. And, the person he knows who's got the plan says, all right, there's going to be obstacles. All right, that didn't work. Well, now what do I do next? What's next? So she came up with a some materials that you can give your students, which I've adapted, and they're in my handouts. And this is called the power of whoop, plan for the obstacles. And let me tell you how that works. So the whoop stands for the W stands for a wish. You name a wish that's challenging but feasible. The O, the first O is imagine the very best outcome. Imagine this outcome. So here's where you visualize the outcome because as we know, visualization is very helpful, but just not by itself. Then the second O is come up with your main obstacle. What is your main obstacle? And imagine this obstacle. What is it? What is keeping you back? Now, that might take some work to find that obstacle, but you have to go look for it. And then P, finally, you get to make a plan, an if then plan on how to overcome the obstacle. If I see a giant bag of Doritos sitting on my kitchen counter and I want to open it, I will go grab a drink of water and have some water. So what are the obstacles that you're going to see and how can you plan for them? If if I get to the end of the day and I know I haven't done any exercise at all, I will get on the floor in the evening and do a push-up, a sit-up, and some stretches. So if plan for all sorts of obstacles that might come your way. If a student has gotten and it's after dinner and they haven't practiced, then they will practice before they go play their games. Whatever. You have to come up with a system. Yeah, I know this is going to happen. I'm going to get all my homework and I'm not going to get it done and it's going to be late. But then you're going to pick up your instrument and you're going to play for 2 minutes. So we're going to talk about the power of little habits, but and how you can do that. So here is just a student example that you can take, and I'm going to show you how to get to her lab. So here she's filled it out. The wish is I'm going to get an A in science this quarter. The outcome is my mom will be very proud of me. The obstacle is I can't figure out my science homework. And then the plan is when I can't figure it out, then I'll Google the questions that I have. So this is just, a very simple thing. But what do you do if you can't figure it out? I'll Google it. And now people will go on AI and get the answer. So this site is called Whoop My Life. It is a powerful activity. I have done it with my private students, and I can tell you that it does work. And this is a really good poster to have in your classroom, too. A dream without a plan is just a wish. If you dream that you want to be a great player, but you're not doing anything about it, it's just a wish. And wishes are not that powerful, even though when we have birthdays, we blow out those candles. And I think those wishes are powerful personally. Yes, those count. All right, so this is an example of a sheet that I have in your handout that you can do with your students. Here, I've got this hope worksheet. I start with the positive. What are some of the highlights from your last year of playing or singing? And then what's working with your music right now? What do you like about it? I like, I sound good. I can play this or that. What are some of the most challenging aspects of learning music? So what is challenging? And for most of them, it is going to be practicing. Then I made a little whoop like. This one is actually goop because instead of a wish, I've said, let's pick a musical goal. Let's pick one musical goal that you want to work on for this semester. Choose something that matters to you. So, what's your goal? Do you want to make wind ensemble? Do you want to learn how to play Flight of the Bumblebee? What, just one goal? There could be, you have many goals. Close your eyes and imagine the best outcome. Imagine it fully and summarize it in 3 to 6 words. I want to wow my dad with Flight of the Bumblebee. All right, that was more than 6 words, but something that they could, what do you want to do? And what excites you about the outcome? I've always loved that piece of music and I just really want to play it. What obstacles are in your way? Well, I don't know my chromatic scale fingerings. So write that down. What is it you don't know? So now let's make an if-then plan. All right, I don't know my fingerings. So I'm going to get out my fingering chart. I'm going to go slowly through all of those notes and I'm going to practice slowly because my teacher has told me that slow and steady wins the race. So, and then if that plan doesn't work, encourage them to make another plan. And here I want to get into in when encouraging kids to make a plan, we want to definitely reinforce the fact that they are capable of so much more than they know and the power of a tiny, tiny habit, James Clear's work. So the biggest, most wonderful thing that you can have in your classroom is this yet sign, which is at the end of your handout. You simply print this out, you put it up in your classroom or your office, and if a kid says, I can't do this, you point at the sign and you say, yeah, that's it. You don't have to go through a great big explanation like I used to do. And I'd say, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right, says Henry Ford. And then they'd look at me like I was crazy. But this is so much faster and easier if I just point to that sign and say, you can't do it yet. Then I want you to take some time and talk to them about growth mindset. Talk to them about how absolutely amazing their brains are and how with practice we can change the structure of our brains. We can change the connections between the neurons and the thickness of the myelin sheaths and all of that stuff that we know about from growth mindset. Our brains will literally change. And here is a man, his name is Dr. Michael Merzenich. He's from the University of California at San Francisco. And he goes on, he's actually a scientist, a positive psychology scientist studying the mind and studying growth mindset. And in this video that I have linked in your handout, he says that he can show us that at any age, our brain is plastic and will change at any age. When you're younger, it's going to change a little bit more, but when you're older, it'll change too. And if we can simply put in the practice, we will reinforce these pathways in our brain and we will get better at almost anything that we put our mind to. Not a lot better, but over time, we will become a lot better. Little tiny steps will lead to great, great growth. And we just have to keep saying that to our kids because it's the action that gives them hope. And the action is let's make these little tiny steps. What little tiny steps are you going to be not just making a wish, not just be optimistic, but you're going to be hopeful that you actually can improve. And one of the things he says in this video, he says, whatever you think your limits are, you're wrong, and he can prove it. So whatever you think your limits are, you're completely wrong. And I would say whatever you think your students' limits are, you're wrong. And know this. Know that our students are capable of far more than we ever imagined if we encourage them to dream big, and we give them the resources they need to succeed. This is a big caveat right here. We have to give them the resources to succeed. One of the reasons that I really love Make Music is that I can assign some very difficult pieces to kids that I don't have time during my school day to teach them. But I can send them home an assignment on Make Music and it'll show them how it goes. It will show them all of the fingerings. They can slow it down, they can loop it. It does everything that makes deliberate practice feasible for them and gives them what they need to succeed. All right, so help those students dream big and give them things to reach for. Now we're going to talk about the power of tiny habits. James Clear is a very well-known self-help writer, and this is a New York Times bestseller. It says here 5 million copies are sold, I think more now. My daughter works for Price Waterhouse Cooper, and the first year that she started there, they had a book review, a book club, study club, And all of the kids or the students, all of this, all of the employees, she's no longer a kid or a student, um, were asked to read this book. And then they had a discussion about it. What about this book is so powerful? And we're going to talk to you about what it is in this book that is so powerful. So Ariana Huffington says this is one of her all-time favorite books. And atomic habits are small 1% improvements in behavior that over time compound into full-blown behavior change and positive habits. He is going to say that they are little 2 minute habits that you can do every day that are going to retrain your brain. They're going to connect those neurons with those myelin sheaths. They're going to make everything in your brain light up if you do them every day. And if you miss a day, it's okay. Don't miss too many and never miss 2 days in a row. So simply don't miss 2 days in a row and only miss one. And if this is an attractive, I have made a practice record that I actually have on my website. It's called teachingpositivity.com, where I have a lot more resources there for you. I have a practice record where a kid gets to write a check if they've practiced 2 minutes in a day, because he says 2 minutes, that counts. And we all know as musicians that once that instrument comes out, you're more likely to keep it out with the 2 minutes. Not always. I have some kids I've done this with, and they just practice 2 minutes every day. But they get, I do have a little incentive prizes for them if they practice more. So you want to think about tiny habits like we think about music. Like if we saw the Prelude and Last Hope in C sharp minor, as it's written right here, we would have to start with like the first three notes. First, we'd have to stare at the key signature. We would just play the first three notes. And then because I play flute, I'd have to go over there and look at the flute solo right away. So I would just study that flute solo. So we know to attack this piece, we would have to start with incremental little tiny habits that we would do every day until over time we can actually play this, or perhaps we can't play that particular piece, but most. Now, along with this, trying to encourage kids just to do little tiny little habits, you want to always tell them it's okay if they fail. Always tell them it's okay. Reframe mistakes as opportunities to grow. Oh my gosh, I can't even play the first three notes. Then you say, it's okay to fail. You're trying. Try again tomorrow. Come up with what obstacles, why couldn't you play those first three notes? What was going wrong? Go through the whoop plan. I want to play those first three notes. What am I going to do? So, what obstacle was in your way? I don't know the fingerings. Let's get out your fingering chart and have them come up with their own little whoop plan to help them play that. So, here's just some nice posters you can put up in your classroom to encourage kids that if they do fail, it's actually pretty good. I love this one. Failure is the only option. If you're not failing, you're not trying anything that's hard enough. So try something that's a little harder. If nothing's challenging you, I want you to go a little farther. And then that's where your growth lies, outside of your comfort zone. So let's get you to fail a little bit and take you farther. It's a great Japanese saying, fall 7 times and stand up 8. And then here we have Bob Ross going, ever make a mistake in life? Let's make them birds. Yeah, they're birds now. One of my favorites, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, except for bears. Bears will kill you. Let's talk about the power of self-talk. This is advice from a sports psychologist, the mental game. He goes, this is Darren Donnelly. The point of self-talk isn't to deceive yourself. The point is to direct yourself. So how do we direct ourselves? Don't listen to yourself because let's face it, we tell ourselves some pretty bad stuff sometimes. Talk to yourself. So if you happen to hear some bad things in your brain, you're not smart, you're not pretty, you're not whatever, talk to yourself and say, hey, that's just not true. It's not true. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder. I am extraordinarily beautiful in my own way. So here's some ways that we can talk to ourselves that have been proven. So one is an anxiety reappraisal, excuse me. So you're going to replace the words I'm afraid. If you come into something and I'm afraid, and you're going to say I'm excited. The same physiological things happen to us when we're afraid as when we're excited. So it's actually not so hard. My heart could race, my palms could get sweaty, my hands could shake if I'm afraid. All of that can happen, but it also means you're excited. And people who are excited do better than people who are not excited. And in this particular study, kids who replaced I'm afraid with I'm excited did 17% better at karaoke, 17% better at public speaking, and shockingly, 22% better on a math quiz. So that's an easy one. Just tell your kids and tell yourself, I'm excited whenever you have something slightly scary to do. Then there's a study that says rather than say, I'm excited, if I say to myself, you're excited, or I go, Peggy, you're excited, that actually becomes more effective. It puts a little distance between that person talking to you and you right here. And that little amount of distance is comforting to us, and we tend to listen to it more. So that third person perspective can help reduce our anxiety that's associated with a hard task by a significant amount. So I would say instead of I've got this, try saying you've got this. And even better than I'm excited, say you're excited or say your name. Kathy, you're excited. And say it to yourself. I write this on the top of my students' contest solos. I'll go, Juna, you're excited. And better than I am enough, which we talked about before, which is a lovely, lovely mantra, by the way. Say your name. Peggy, you are enough. You are enough. Or Ken, you are enough. Now we're going to talk really briefly about the power of awe and just taking a moment in our life and teaching our kids to do the same thing and notice something extraordinarily beautiful. And it doesn't have to be the Northern Lights in Iceland. It can be, but it doesn't have to be. So if we take the time to just look for beautiful moments of awe, it will increase our positive emotions. It will have lasting benefits to our moods. It will increase our life satisfaction, and it creates the small self effect, which gives us a perspective to look at our world that removes us from the day to day minutia and helps us to look at our world more creatively and more peacefully. So, awe will change your time perception. It'll encourage curiosity and learning. It will enhance creativity. And this is me and my beautiful dog, Casey, in a moment of awe on Lake Champlain in Vermont. Here's me with my two buddies, actually seeing Northern Lights. But I photoshopped this picture, so it's not really. If you notice, I have my sunglasses have turned brown, so I'm in full sun on that picture. You can microdose awe. So this technique takes 5 to 15 seconds 3 times a day. That's it. 5 to 15 seconds 3 times a day. Go outside and look at a leaf. Just look at a leaf for 5 to 15 seconds. Leaves are like incredible. Look at your hands. Oh my gosh, our hands are like beyond incredible. Right this moment, find something to look at, something that you can see, and I want you to drink in its awesomeness. Go ahead and use your hands if you like. How on earth does that happen? These gorgeous, beautiful hands of ours. So just doing that will actually make you happier and more hopeful. It's crazy. And this quote here, I won't read it verbatim, but they say, it seems like it's way too easy, but it actually is true. It makes people happier if they just take the time to notice something. And you can take those 5 seconds and have your class notice something. Microdose awe. We can use music because we are so blessed as music teachers. We have like the best subject in the entire world to inspire people to have awe. So now we're going to do a little hope worksheet ourselves, just a little one. And know that whatever you think your limits are, you're wrong. And know that whatever you think your students' limits are, you are wrong. So we're going to go through this a little quickly. But if you're watching this as a tape, you can stop the tape, take as long as you like. And here we go. First thing is I'm going to give you a list of possible tiny habits that you can use on this hope worksheet, and you do not have to use any of these, but I can remind you of the ones we talked about. We talked about gratitude habits, where you're going to visualize one thing you're grateful for before bed, and we're talking tiny. So we want tiny habits here. Visualize one thing you're grateful for while brushing your teeth. And you could start a microdosing awe habit for 15 seconds each day. Remind yourself, I go for a walk in the morning or I walk to my car and I look at something that inspires awe. I used to walk into my building at Fayette School in North Merrick and the sun would rise. And it was an amazing moment of awe every morning for me. Start your day with positive self talk. Let us rejoice, if you like that one. Meditate for 2 minutes. James Clear tells us we need to meditate or we need to do our habits for 2 minutes to really make them stick. So, not probably a big fan of the 15-second microdosing awe people, but they believe in it. So, go for the 15 seconds there. Consider the cyclic grateful sign where you breathe in for 2, big breath in, and say, thank you, thank you, as you exhale. Or come up with any tiny habit that you know will make you a more effective and hopeful teacher. You know you need to exercise. Do 2 minutes on the floor of whatever exercise you want. Cat cow, 2 minutes a day. One push-up, which is what I did for many years. So now I'm going to take a little time. Right now, we're going to pick one goal for your classroom that you want to work on. And I want you to write this in your phone. So take out your phones, open up a note, and take a moment and pick a goal for your classroom. What goal would you like? Would you like your students to practice more? Would you like to connect to your students better? Would you like to feel less burned out? What is it that you would like to happen in your classroom? Don't judge, just write. Now close your eyes and imagine that outcome. What would it look like if that goal came to pass? How would you feel? How would your students feel? Write down in 3 to 6 words, not many, what it would be like if that goal came to pass. Now I'm going to go ahead, but if you are staying on the question behind, please do. You can find these worksheets in my handout if you'd like to continue it on your own. So right now, what obstacles are in your way? What is in your way? What's keeping you? What's keeping you from having all of this happen? We all have obstacles. And whatever we try to do, there are almost always obstacles. So what are they? Obstacles can keep us stuck for a very long time. And you are not alone if you have an obstacle that's kept you stuck for a very long time. And now this is your chance to look at it and make a plan for how to get around it, like water. We're going to go over it. We're not going to go under it. We're going to go around it. We can't go through it. Now make a plan. When you see this big obstacle, what are you going to do? How can you get past it? How can you get past that obstacle? Now, thinking of the plan, what is a tiny habit that will support that plan? So if you're still writing your plan, just keep writing it and then just notice what we're going to say here. And this comes from James Clear's book. How can we make that little habit even smaller? You want a habit that is so small that you are going to succeed. You want a 2-minute practice habit. You want a habit of one push up. Now, think silly small habits that can be done in 2 minutes or less. You want a 15-second microdosing awe habit. Perhaps you can just show up on your practice mat. Let's say you want to do yoga. Your your plan is to show up on your mat. Just say it, stay on your mat for 2 minutes. What is that ridiculously new habit that you have? Write that down. And when can you do it each day? If possible, attach it to a habit you already have. If you watch the news at night, put your exercise mat down on the floor. Maybe do one push up. Maybe. Now, if you have written down a small habit, congratulations. If you haven't written it down yet, there's still time. So take this work out of this session and continue this and come up with one tiny habit. But once you've got it super small, you've made your habit so small that it is almost impossible to fail. And that's what we want to give us hope. We don't want to fail. I mean, we know failure is good for us, but in the beginning, let's make it so that we don't have to fail. Remind yourself daily of the teacher that you want to be, the goal that you want, and know that your new habit will support you. And remember, just like in meditation, we're all human. So when you fail, you just say, oh, well, and you start again. It's a beautiful video that I would encourage you to watch on Jane Goodall releasing this amazing chimpanzee into the forest after he'd been rehabilitated. I think it's a she. Her name is Wunda. And the the chimpanzee knew that Jane Goodall had done this for her. It gives you such hope. And she says, hope is what enables us to keep going in the face of adversity. It is what we desire to happen, but we must be prepared to work hard to make it so. No matter how dark things might seem, there's always a glimmer of hope if we keep moving forward and taking action. I'm going to give you a couple secrets to master teaching. Believe in yourself. Know that whatever you think your limits are, you are wrong. Believe in your students. And know that whatever you think their students are, you're wrong. And believe that there is hope. There is always a glimmer of hope if we keep moving forward and take action. And I'd like to end with this hopeful meditation. May you dream big with an open heart. May you trust that hope is always within your reach. May you meet your obstacles with patience and courage. May your small daily actions create a brighter future for you and your students. And may your students know all of this too. Remember, you are made of stars, apparently, literally, as well as figuratively, and so are your students. Louisa May Alcott tells us, I am not afraid of storms, for I've learned how to sail my ship. And my dog tells us that today is the day to make a difference. And if you are at Midwest, we will be announcing our grand prize winner. Leave you with a little joke. This is the holiday season as I am making this. Here are the John Cage carolers. For those of you who are young and don't know of John Cage's 4 minutes and 33 seconds, you might have to look that up to get this joke. But everyone can get this joke. The encouragement is telling us you can do it. You've got this. Thank you so much for your attention. And I do sincerely hope that you got something wonderful out of today's session. Please feel free to reach out to me and I can help you in any way that I possibly can. My email, peggyrakis@gmail.com. You can find more at my website, teachingpositivity.com. And this is a wonderful holiday musical piece that I'd like to play for you to inspire awe. Thank you very much.
Deck the halls with boughs
of holly.
Nom la and la. King ling 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 gam nam ling ling fa la 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 la. Done.
We now are gay apparel.
Fa la la. Troll the ancient Yuletide carol. La 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 la.
See a blazing eagle before us. Fa la 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 la
La la
la.
Goblin. Fa la la fa la 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 la. Come on. What? You have to sing your part. Okay. La. While I tell of Yuletide treasure.
Fa la la
La.
la. Fast away the old year passes. Fa la 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 la.
La la. Hail the new ye lads.
And blesses. Fa la la la
I
la.
forgot the words. Sing, be joyous, all together.
Fa la 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 la.
Heedless of the wind and weather.
La 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 la
La, yum yum.
la la.
Ba la 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 la.
La.
La. La.
Thank you so much for being with me today. Please feel free to reach out. And I hope that you have a wonderful year ahead.